You are standing inside the silent corridors of the Alexandrian palace. Outside, the city roars with rebellion, fires burning, soldiers shouting, the crack of siege engines battering the walls. Inside, it is quiet. Too quiet. A Roman guard pushes you forward. At the end of the hallway stands a figure wrapped in linen, holding a torch. She gestures sharply. "Follow me." The queen waits. You descend into a chamber lit only by oil lamps and braziers. Perfume hangs thick in the air. Marble floors gleam. Statues of Isis and Osiris stare down with empty eyes. And there, seated on a raised dais, wearing gold from head to toe, is Cleopatra, seventh, last pharaoh of Egypt. Before her, on a table, lies a sealed scroll and the sword of a Roman general. She beckons, and in that moment you understand the truth the Romans whispered about, but never dared to write. Cleopatra did not enter alliances. She demanded obedience, even from Julius Caesar. And what she asked of him, what she forced him to accept, horrified the most powerful man in Rome. If you stay until the end, you will never see Cleopatra or Caesar the same way again. Hollywood lied about Caesar and Cleopatra. They showed you romance. They showed seduction. They showed two rulers drawn together by destiny. But they didn't show you the truth. Cleopatra didn't want Caesar's love. She wanted his submission. And she had a system, an entire political ritual designed to test whether the most feared man on earth was willing to kneel before the throne of Egypt. Roman historians wrote about it cautiously. Egyptian priests recorded it in symbols, and fragments survive in papyri found near the palace ruins. Together, they reveal a ritual so shocking that even Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, destroyer of armies, stood frozen. Let's go into the heart of it. The famous story says she had herself smuggled into his quarters, rolled inside a carpet. That part is true. But what happened after the carpet was unrolled is the part history tried to hide. Caesar wasn't alone. He was surrounded by his officers, men hardened by 10 years of bloodshed. When Cleopatra stepped out of the linen roll, dusted with palace lint, wearing nothing but royal jewelry, the officers fell silent. But it wasn't her appearance that froze them. It was what she said. Roman writer Cassius Dio records her first words. "Rome does not choose me. Rome must obey me." This wasn't flirtation. It was a challenge, a test Caesar wasn't expecting. Cleopatra told Caesar he could not rule Egypt through her. If he wanted Egypt, if he wanted her support, if he wanted her allegiance, he would have to do something no Roman ruler had ever done. Participate in an Egyptian coronation ritual, a ritual that required Caesar to acknowledge her as a living goddess. Not metaphorically, literally. The ritual was known as the binding of the two realms. The queen sat on the throne of Isis. The foreign ruler stood before her. He placed his weapons at her feet. He swore a vow of protection and obedience. He accepted her divine authority above his own. In Rome, this would have been treason. In Egypt, it was required. Dio writes, Caesar hesitated, for no Roman had ever bowed to a mortal. But Cleopatra was not a mortal in Egypt. She was Isis reborn, and she demanded Caesar prove he understood that. Caesar was taken to a chamber few ever saw. Archaeologists found it in the 1990s beneath the eastern wing of the palace ruins. A narrow hall, walls covered in painted stars, a raised throne platform, stone grooves for ritual oil, recesses for votive offerings, and a bronze basin for purification rites. This was the coronation chamber of the Ptolemies, where kings bowed to queens, where Egypt's rulers were chosen by ritual, not blood. Cleopatra's demand was simple, but horrifying to a Roman. He must kneel. He must swear loyalty. He must be purified according to Egyptian law, and he must place Egypt's crown on her head, not his own. This act symbolized that the Roman general was not above her. He was her instrument, her protector, her subordinate. Caesar understood the meaning instantly. If Rome discovered he had kneeled before a foreign queen and a goddess, the Senate could declare him insane. His enemies could accuse him of sacrilege. His political career would be over. Romans feared kingship. They feared monarchy. They feared the idea of divine rulers. If they learned Caesar had knelt to one, he would be finished. Plutarch writes, Caesar was seized by a fear he dared not show. But Cleopatra knew something else. Caesar needed her. He needed Egypt's gold. He needed her ships. He needed her political legitimacy. He needed the stability of Alexandria, and she exploited that need with ruthless brilliance. Caesar was stripped of his armor, not for humiliation, but because no one could enter the chamber armed. He was washed in sacred oils. A priest painted symbols of servitude on his arms. Incense filled the air. Then Cleopatra entered, wearing the crown of Isis. She sat on the throne and spoke the words every Egyptian ruler demanded from their consort or ally. Swear that the queen is eternal, and through her you shall rule. Caesar was silent. A Roman general did not kneel. A Roman general did not swear to a foreign monarch. A Roman general did not bend. But Cleopatra watched him with eyes that did not blink. And slowly, very slowly, Caesar lowered himself to one knee. Cassius Dio records, no moment in Caesar's life was more fearful or more dangerous. Not crossing the Rubicon, not fighting Pompey, not facing assassins. Kneeling to Cleopatra terrified him more than anything else, because in that moment he crossed a line Rome could never forgive. After the ritual, Cleopatra placed her hand on Caesar's head and said, "Now we are bound. You protect Egypt. Egypt protects you." From that moment on, Caesar was not just her ally. He was hers, bound by oath, bound by ritual, bound by a secret he could never reveal. Cleopatra didn't seduce Caesar. She claimed him, with politics, with ritual, with power Rome could not understand. When Caesar returned to Rome with Cleopatra, senators whispered that he had been bewitched. They noticed changes. He defended Egyptian law. He praised Cleopatra publicly. He placed her statue in the temple of Venus Genetrix. He allowed her to live in Rome like a queen. Cicero wrote, "The woman commands him, and he obeys." Romans did not know the truth, but Cleopatra did. In that chamber beneath Alexandria, Caesar had knelt, and no one in Rome ever forgave him. If this revealed a side of Caesar and Cleopatra's relationship you've never heard before, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're going to keep uncovering the stories ancient empires tried to hide. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next investigation into the darkest corners of history.